All right. Welcome in, everyone, to another rendition of our Doc Talks with Sports Management Worldwide. My name is Ike Worth here in the Portland, Oregon headquarters. And before we get started, as we usually do, I just want to make sure that everyone kind of has the lay of the land and the ground rules, so to say. We will be going to questions from all of you, and we want to make sure that you have your videos on and you have microphones working and all those good things. Also, to show if you have a question, make sure you click on the participants button down below on your screen. And then also in the bottom right-hand corner of that, you'll see a nice blue button that says raise hand. That'll let us know that you have a question. We'll come to you as soon as the previous question is wrapped up. Also, use the chat function to network, drop your LinkedIn, name, location, day job. If you're an SMWW graduate, if you're a CUC graduate, we got a great group in here, and we have an even bigger list that is registered. So plenty of opportunities to network, plenty of opportunities to make connections. I see we have John Ross in here. We also have the good Dr. Lashbrook. So with that, I'm going to say that the doctor is in, and we're going to pass the mic over to him. Thank you, everyone, for joining. And Dr. Lashbrook, take it away.
Good job, Ike and Alyssa and Sharice are running the show. I'm COVID insulated, not COVID, but I'm quarantined. My staff kicked me out of Portland. I'm in Palm Desert. I'll be returning hopefully for Christmas. I do wear a mask except in class, as you know. John, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good. Good to see you.
Good to see you. And John, I appreciate you coming in today. These Doc Talks are designed to be informative. We got a nice group here, and we'll be able to go around the room, and you can ask a question to John as we go through the introduction. John, the reason it's one of my favorite topics is not just because you're one of my favorite people, but I really am the father of digital video editing. I was splicing 16-millimeter film in 1966 in the off season at the great Fort Hays State, the school that beat K-State last week. The shot heard around the world. Yeah. I just want you to know that. And then when I got hired with my doctorate back to Fort Hays, we had a new video machine, and they made me video coordinator because I was the only one that knew how to clean the heads with a Q-tip and alcohol. These are true stories, John. So this has always been one of my favorite topics. But John, this is about information. It's about your story. Let's kind of back up from high school on and walk us through your personal story to be where you are today as a video coordinator with the NBA Portland Trailblazers. I think it's an important story, and we're going to have some fun here. This is an hour long. Don't worry, you won't get bored. Nobody ever falls asleep in our Doc Talks. But I want to welcome everybody. I want to welcome John. John, start with high school and kind of walk us through your year-by-year steps to get where you are today.
For sure. Well, it's good to see all you guys. I was in your seat at one point in my life and career. So like Dr. Lashbrook was saying, high school, probably like a lot of you, I had a dream of working in the NBA. Once you realize I'm probably not going to play in the NBA, then you have to figure out how to get there in another way. I wanted to work in a front office. And so graduated high school, went to college. It was after.
Where'd you go to college?
I went to Liberty University.
And why Liberty? I say it respectfully. What was your decision there?
I wanted to go to a Division I evangelical school. And so that was why I went there. And then after school.
What'd you major in?
Business management. So I got a business degree, a sports management minor, and graduated from college not exactly knowing what I was going to do.
And did you work in the athletic department when you were there by chance?
I was an athletic tutor. That was about the extent of my athletic time there.
And I bet you're pretty popular in the athletic. I'm an old academic advisor, but getting bright students that could relate to student, probably a good experience for you, wasn't it?
Totally. Yeah, no, it was great. And then I was a resident assistant. So I had athletes on my hall. So I worked with athletes in those regards.
Okay.
But not with that specific, program or team. And then it was after I graduated where I got a job at the school as an admissions counselor, helping kids get into college. I did that for about a year when I kind of hit my wall, this isn't what I want to do with my life or career. How do I take the next step? How do I, get to achieve my dreams? And I literally Googled NBA jobs, and the first thing that popped up was SMWW. And so I signed up for the GM and scouting course, and that kind of started the wheels of just connecting with people. I learned how to break down game film. Frank Burleson was teaching the class, and he knew the head coach at Liberty, so he connected us. I started working with the basketball team at Liberty and going to practice and writing scouting reports, and they really helped me. And so all of that started, getting the wheels turned. That's what I always tell people who take the SMWW classes. It's not necessarily like just taking the class isn't going to get you a job, right, but the class gets the wheel rolling. And like through that, I connected with Frank, who then connected me with the video coordinator with the Celtics, who then connected me with the video coordinator with the Trailblazers. Yeah. And so that's kind of how things work for me. So I took the course, and then after that, the Boston Celtics, their video coordinator at the time, Brian Adams, he had taken the course and was looking for an intern, and SMWW gave him my name. And so I went up to Boston, interviewed with him, and then he also passed my name to Portland with the Trailblazers and Caleb Canales. And then Caleb hired me as his intern. So that's kind of how I got into the league. And so I was a video intern for 2 years, and then assistant video coordinator, and then moved over to the front office about 7 years ago. And I work as the personnel video coordinator and kind of handle all personnel video related to scouting, trades, free agency, draft. And so that's kind of my day-to-day role now.
So, John, before we get into your actual that career, I think it's interesting. One of the things I take most pride in, I remember being a professor for 50 years and not really a fan of traditional education after you get into one of our courses, but those informational interviews that we encourage students to take, you don't know where it's going to lead. I know you weren't a product of our XOs course that we now teach with James Curdy. It's a great course. And John, backing up a little bit, I really believe we try to even get high school students take a skill set like digital video editing. You can almost guarantee an opportunity to either volunteer or work in a college basketball program. Your comments on the growth of your industry in digital video editing, if I may.
Yeah, totally. I mean, it's grown tremendously. So when I got into the NBA, like I knew how to use Synergy, and they saw that as a positive, which it is. But it's like now the people we're looking at hiring, like Synergy is a given, sports code is a given. Like they like people applying for our internships have almost as much experience as I do in 14 years working in the NBA. And so it's definitely become a lot more competitive. I know Dr. Lashbrook, you were cleaning with Q-tips, but even when I started 14 years ago, there were still coaches in the league using VHS tapes. So we were doing DVDs for most teams, and then the Boston Celtics still had like an older coach who liked watching VHS. So we still had to like transmit VHS tapes whenever the Celtics were in town, and then quickly switch to DVDs, and then within a few years everything was in the cloud. So things have been moving quickly, and obviously when you work with video and technology, I would say like video coordinators in general, probably 10 years ago when everything was transitioning to the cloud, and so many services that you guys probably hear of, Second Spectrum and Synergy and all these things, we kind of wondered, like, are these outsources going to take our jobs? And what we quickly realized was there became more jobs because all of the people, like coaches, front office, they're a little older and they don't know how to use any of that technology. Yeah. So the more technology that came about, the more they needed to hire more people to function and run those and analytics. And so our video staffs actually kind of have grown over the last 10 years.
No, it's unbelievable. I got to be honest with you. I go back again in the 60s and just working outside the classroom in the athletic department is the secret. Mike Zimmer, the head coach of the Minnesota Vikings, was just a assistant or graduate assistant in 1980. There's so many college jobs. Let's talk about opportunities at a college, whether it's the Division 2, 3, or 1. It seems to me, even though the NBA, you might be more fully staffed with more even technology. Talk about the vertical of opportunities working in basketball, even at the college level, even at the small college level, once you have a skill set. Go ahead.
Yeah, totally. I recommend to everyone I talk to work in basketball at any level, even if it's your local high school team or YMCA. Yeah. Like let's say we get 5,000 applications for an internship.
Yeah.
4,000 of those are probably from people saying, I love basketball. And
Yeah.
that's the extent. And so we throw those out. Like, we're looking for who loves basketball enough to like volunteer. And so if you can get on with a Division 1, 2, 3 school, it doesn't matter to us. Like, we're just looking that you love basketball and you're willing to work in it for free and put in the time. And then, you know, a lot of the people we end up hiring have gone from like a volunteer role to like getting an opportunity in the G League or the WNBA or their college.
Right.
And that's where, you know, maybe you're not getting paid or paid much, but you start to learn all the tools you need for an NBA team. And then that's kind of how people make the progression up to the NBA.
John, let's take a pre-COVID game day, and then we'll talk about COVID, and we'll talk about off-season. But I want everybody to understand how exciting. I think you have a fascinating job. And I go back to Eric Spoelstra, the NBA Coach of the Year at one time. We started out, if I may, in the film room, if I can use that nomenclature. But let's talk about the pre-COVID days of what your day was on a Saturday, a home game, and then we'll talk about away game. I want everybody to get a feel for the electricity. You have a pretty cool job, in my opinion. You've not only had a remarkable success, I know you're having fun going to work every day, but give us a game day, getting up at 6 or 5, maybe in your case, since you're a millennial, 11 o'clock in the morning. But tell us what a game day's like before COVID.
Yeah, also, like, when I work with the coaching staff, what a game day would look like is you're probably getting to the office at 7 or 8, and then at 9 o'clock you're going to have a coaches meeting, and so you're going to have all the game film prepared for the opponent that night. At 9 o'clock, the coaching staff's going to go over that film. The assistant coaches have been working with you over the last week to prepare for that game, because let's say you have 4 assistant coaches or 5. They're going to split up every 4th, every 5th game, and then you got 3 video coordinators. You're going to work with specific coaches and get the film ready for that coaches meeting that day of the game. And then for the coaches meeting, you're probably going to watch, let's say, 20 minutes of film, and then the coach is going to trim that down to 5 to 10 minutes that he wants the team to see. And so then you go from that coaches meeting to jumping on the court, and then you're on the court rebounding for guys, getting them ready. And then at 10 o'clock, we have a theater, and then everybody goes into the theater. So video coordinators, coaching staff, players, and you run the film for the team. And then from there, from the film session, you go back onto the court, probably have a 45-minute walkthrough where you walk through all the plays and all the things you just watched on film. You go over kind of your sets that you're probably going to be doing that night. And then from there, for video guys, then you go back and, you know, finish up your video work and preparation for that night. Guys will go home, have a few hours off, and then you'll go from the office. You probably, you know, you'll have a break from, let's say, 2 to 4, and then you head to the game a few hours early. And because you start logging the games like 4 o'clock, the East Coast game starts. So you're logging those games to get ready for the next opponents. And then typically there's 3 of us in the video room. So 2 guys are going to be logging and watching other games. Then 1 guy is going to be preparing the film for the team that night. An hour before tip off, the team will watch film again. And then someone's logging the game live as it goes. And then at halftime, the team's coming back in and they'll watch clips from the first half. And then as soon as the game's over, then you're distributing all that film from the games you've logged that night and from your game to all the coaches. And then they're getting that ready for the meeting the next morning. And so that's how.
That's crazy. It's a long ways from the 16-millimeter film. I used to bring 4 cans back from scouting the football game and getting through the airport. One time I was pulled off an airplane because it looked like I was carrying a bomb. This was after DB Cooper, if I may. John, let's take us on the road. You're working for the Blazers. They have a road game. Talk about your role on a road game. Then we'll get into the bubble and what that experience was like. But let's go to the road game.
Yeah, so the road is challenging. Not only, you know, it's kind of that same schedule, except you're on the move the whole time. So you know, you land in a city the day before the game. So, you know, usually, let's say you fly out from, you know, Portland, whatever city you land, you're probably going to do some kind of a walkthrough that evening just to like kind of go through whatever, you know, you're going through the game the next morning. The next morning, you're going to do the same routine. You're going to have a coaches meeting. That's usually going to be in the coach's hotel room. And so he'll usually have a suite. So you can go up there with all your equipment as usual. You'll have your coaches meeting there. And then everybody goes to breakfast. And that's usually where you do a film session at breakfast. And then from there, you'll probably go to the team's arena or the opponent's team's arena or practice facility, have a walkthrough. So an hour of shots and running through things. And then, back to the hotel and then back to the game that night. And then after the game, you're on a plane to the next city. And so once again, it keeps going. Especially like if you're traveling East Coast, Midwest during the winter, there's times you don't get into the hotel till 3, 4, 5 in the morning. And the schedule is the same. You got to get up the next morning. You have your coaches meeting. You have a game that night. So everything keeps moving, and you try to sleep when you can. So
you're doing a good job, and everybody know they're going to get to ask questions. We'll go around the room. You can also raise your hand. That blue hand will come up. But John, let's talk about the bubble. It was a successful event. A tough time this year. COVID's been tough on everybody. Today we celebrate the beginning of the runway for the vaccine, if I may. But let's talk about your role in the bubble and the circumstances there.
Yeah, well, for me, so like working on the personnel side, I didn't travel to Orlando. I stayed in Portland and got ready for the draft. And so my role for this season was preparation for the draft, which typically from like April through June, we're kind of on deadline to where we're getting ready for that. And then this year, not knowing when the draft was going to be, we had to stay prepared every month as if it was going to be that day. So our executive team who did go to the bubble, what we would be doing is continually uploading film for them to watch and different things and workouts of guys. And so we would be sending those to them and then basically preparing things back at the office for what was needed for the draft, which ended up happening in November.
And let's talk about the draft. You get incoming film. I always like to use film to show my age, but let's talk about identifying talent, preparing for the draft, and the globalization of talent discovery. Talk about your role in the scouting and going into draft day.
Yeah, so my role is personnel video coordinator. So I'm the one who's connected to all of our scouts worldwide, wherever they are around the States or in Europe. And so all the information kind of funnels. And then, we have a team, we have like our executive team and scouts, we have our salary cap guy, we have our analytics team, and then I head up all the video guys. And so we're kind of each fitting our niche of what we're doing. So for me, I'm collecting all the film from, let's say there's 100 guys that we're targeting, and then we have all of those guys tiered into lists of who we're looking at. And we just build a database of film on those guys throughout the year. And so kind of the main things we're looking at when we're breaking down game film is what translates from college or international to the NBA. So that's going to be like pick and rolls and isolations and post ups. And so it's, that's where you see guys, who jump up in the draft who really weren't that good in college. Because teams mainly aren't looking at like their statistics or how dominant they were, but how does what they did in college translate to the NBA? And so what I like to do when I'm presenting film is to not just show some clips of a guy, but I try to tell a story of the guy. So I'm not just like throwing some clips up there, but you're looking for when can you get when he's interacting with his teammates and how he handles, a tough situation, or what emotion does he show after a shot. So you're trying to go beyond just the shots and misses and makes and defense, but how can you get into the nitty gritty of who this guy is through a film session? So
walk me through the second round draft pick, CJ, what your thoughts were. I'm not asking for confidential information, but did you know all along who your second round draft pick was going to be? Or kind of walk our audience through the decision-making based on every previous draft in the order it comes.
Yeah, so basically, we'll have our tiers of guys that we're targeting and looking at, and your rankings, probably like you guys do at home or like I did growing up, like you rank all the players for the draft and who you want, and it's like amazing. The same things I did as a kid is the same way an NBA team operates. Is you tier your players, you put your system. Most teams, I would say, are looking for best player available on their board. Some teams are going to target more of a position, but even that, you're probably going to have your groups of players, and maybe if you have a 50-50, you take the positional influence. For the Trailblazers, obviously, we've had success in the second round with Alan Crabb and Pat Connaughton and Will Barton. And so we know the type of player that fits and succeeds in our system and how our coaches develop players. So I think that's part, our management team's been together about 10 years now with Neil Shea and Terry Stotts. So, they get a feel for each other. The scouting team gets a feel for everyone, and you kind of know what the coach is looking for and what players are going to fit into your system.
John, before I go to Sasha, and we'll go around the room and get some questions in this hour, those that were in the bubble, even though you weren't in the bubble, talk about those experiences. I know the challenges for all the athletes was family, etc.
Yeah.
I just admire what they went through. Don't get me wrong. And, but you're what you heard from your colleagues that were in the bubble.
What I heard from everyone said it was incredible. Like that the NBA had done such a good job of setting it up. Everybody was very impressed, and / no one ever wanted to do it again because the family and those things. It was really hard on guys to be away for that long. But as far as how the NBA handled things and all the testing and everything, like everyone was really impressed with all of that. So it went really well.
Let's go ahead, John, and what we do is get as many questions in this hour, because this is about students that are people that want to know how to break in. And we're honest, we never guarantee a job. I'm proud of our 35 courses. John, we have over 20,000 graduates from 163 different countries. I feel really close to basketball because I went to Springfield College, the birthplace of basketball, until somebody verifies that it's a false statement. I held the ladder for Naismith when he put it up. He got all the credit, but I was right there in the game of basketball and the vision of where it is today. John, let's go to Sasha with your introduction. Sasha, welcome in, and thanks for coming in.
Hi, thank you so much. My name's Sasha.
Introduce yourself.
Yeah, hi, I'm Sasha Aronson. I'm originally from New Jersey, and right now I work as a head basketball manager for the Tulane men's basketball team. And with that position, I've gotten some access to working with Synergy and putting together scouting reports for the coaches. And my question is, and this is just under the assumption that what you use is Synergy. If not, if it's another platform, the question still applies. But do you, when you're putting together cuts of film, do you do it within the Synergy platform? Because I know there's a video editing part of that, because the way that we use it is we export it to Sports Code, and I put together little movies for the coaches in that way. But I didn't know, is there a more efficient way that the Trailblazers use?
Yeah, no, I would say similar. Like Sports Code Huddle is what we use to do all of our film. So if we need to get film from Synergy, we will just download it from Synergy and then import it into Sports Code, like you said. We have some other places like NBA Media Archive and a place called Hoop One, where we download just raw games from, and then we get to chop those up how we want. But when we use Synergy, we basically use it exactly like you said. We don't do a lot of logging within Synergy, but we just pull the video out and then kind of tailor it to how we're looking to edit it.
Sasha, do you have a follow-up before I go to Brendan Potts?
Yeah, the only other follow-up would be, what are your specific keys to putting together a player profile?
Yeah, so the main thing, like I mentioned earlier, was just what translates to an NBA player. So probably the number one thing is pick and rolls. Like obviously pick and rolls, 80% of NBA plays are going to include a pick and roll. So you're looking at what does a guy do at the college level that's going to translate to them. And so that even includes like athleticism. If you can just get plays where you see a guy sprinting up and down the court or blocking a shot or dunking, and just seeing how his body works, what his explosion is. And so you're looking at those kind of things that are going to translate from the college level to the NBA level. When that would be for us, that would be different for what you're doing, but for what we're looking at a personnel side, that's how we break down film.
And John, correct me if I'm wrong. If you're looking at resumes and somebody's working in a Division I basketball program, taking our course and also working in, that has to get to the top of the heap of resumes just with that kind of contribution already. Am I right?
Yeah, totally. Anyone working in basketball who's also editing film, you're going to get a look.
Yeah.
So.
John, good stuff. Sasha, so proud of you. And thanks for coming in. You got a bright future, and I look forward to mentoring you. Let's go to Brendan with your introduction and questions or comments for John. Brendan, welcome in.
Hey, how we doing, guys?
Good.
I'm glad that you brought up CJ Ellery, because I'm a Coug, and trust me, we love that he got drafted to the Blazers. So he's staying home. He's staying home.
You made somebody happy, John.
Yeah, right. So my question for John, it's good to see you again, by the way. So I'm having trouble like imagining trying to find a way to break into the industry after college, and I only have a couple years left, and I wanted to I kind of needed help finding an ideal way to break into the industry.
So let me start, John, and then don't put all the pressure. Brendan knows taking our courses. He's doing informational interviews. And I still go back to, you got to play your way to the next level. You got to work your way. And I've always encouraged Brendan to look at that college in his backyard to demonstrate his willingness. I think strategy is as important as the goal. We all have a goal, but I think strategy is important. What kind of encouragement would you give Brendan on that? He's taking courses. He comes to our chats. He's definitely doing a great job, but you just got to keep doing informational interviews and keep networking, but you also got to keep growing. Your comments on that, John?
Yeah, I mean, breaking into the NBA itself is really challenging. There's maybe 30 roles every year. This year with COVID, I don't know, maybe just a few. Like, we didn't hire any interns this year. I know a lot of teams that are bypassing this year, just trying to get through the season. So it is very challenging to even break into the NBA and get an internship. But it's even like Dr. Lashbrook just said, that moving forward. So if you're able to work at a college, that's awesome. If you can stay at your college and grow and learn more tools and take a class, those are good things. And then a lot of the last two of the last three interns we hired, one came from the G League and one came from the WNBA. The last one was a graduate assistant at a college and then got on as an assistant basketball ops guy with another college. And so everybody comes in with a different story, but it's always moving forward. And I think a lot of people want to make that jump straight to the NBA. And a lot of people, they work several years in the G League or WNBA before they even get an internship in the NBA.
Absolutely.
So we've had guys who've taken jobs with us who are taking internships with us who had full-time jobs in the WNBA or full-time jobs in the G League, and they'll take an internship. And that's kind of, so it's a progression to get there.
John, before anybody can raise their hand, but we'll go around the room and pick some people out. But John, the symbiotic relationship between analytics and digital video editing, left arm, right arm, help me out on that relationship and departments, if I may.
Totally. So me and our analytics guy sit right next to each other at the office. So we're always working together. The database that our whole, basketball operations has access to, it's basically a combination of analytics and video. And so we work together on putting those things together. The analytics team, they're going to find guys that they're looking at that maybe aren't the prospects you see on, ESPN or whatever, but they'll find those guys. So then they'll share that with, the video guys. Hey, can we get some film on these guys who aren't getting noticed, but our stats are saying this guy is going to translate to our level. So the analytics and video team, we're always working together. So right arm, left arm. Yeah, we're all part of the same group working together.
Before I go to Abdul, the last question on that, the G League and the growth of the G League, just like internationally, help me out on the job market for digital video editing in G League opportunities as well as around the world from colleagues you've met?
Yeah, so one of the reasons we really look highly on people who worked in the G League and WNBA is they don't have the resources that we have at the NBA level. So we know that they're the type of person who's going to have to figure out how to get things done without having the budget and the resources. And so you're probably going to have bare bones at those levels as far as what you have to work with. But if you can do a really good job with what you have to work with, that kind of shows that once you make the progression, you should be able to excel with even more resources. So, yeah, like I've said before, we look really highly. I always encourage people, if you have an opportunity in the WNBA or G League, that's a really big thing. So
great stuff. Let's go to Eric with your introduction and question for John. Eric, thanks for coming in.
Yes, sir. Thank you. And John, thanks a lot for sharing your time with us tonight. I have
Introduce yourself, Eric.
I'm sorry. Yes, my name is Eric Magner. I'm living in Virginia right now. I'm a lawyer by training. I've taken a couple of the classes, sports administration and baseball, GM scouting course. I am thinking about taking the salary cap course coming up because I think with my legal training, that's the best entryway. And John, I know you talked a little bit about working with the salary cap people when you're doing the analysis for the draft. I want you to touch a little bit more on that, how they play a role with you and the collaboration in that regard. Thank you.
Good question, Eric. Go ahead, John.
Yeah, I mean, so just like analytics and video work together, I mean, video kind of works with every department specifically. So the salary cap guy is going to know what players specifically, like in free agent or trades, can actually fit on your roster and with your roster within constraints. Obviously, with the salary cap, you can't just add any player at any time. There's only certain guys you can target and access. So basically, I work with him as far as specifically during trades and free agency of what players that we may be targeting and what players are on the market so that we can have film ready to evaluate on those guys. And yeah, just as a side, as lawyers, yeah, salary cap, that's a huge department. If you're gifted in analytics or video or law, those things all have major roles in the NBA.
John, I'm going to put in a plug. Our athlete man, we have a basketball agent course taught by our staff, and it's really popular. Let me share something with you, John. I don't know if you've been following the NIL, name, image, and likeness, but the Zions of the world are going to be able to get paid, make money while they're in school. And let's face it, colleges are going through a seismic change. But when they do come back, and the women have already announced a bubble for their NCAA March Madness, if I may. But John, I was going to tell anybody, Eric included, sometimes you take that agent course and get a couple of players, whether it's G League or internationally. Now you're learning the business and you're meeting GMs, because let's face it, John, there's a lot of international players in the draft every year, and that world has changed, and you can't just depend on provincial. But I like learning the agent world. For some people are trying to get a job and they can't get the job. They can start by getting their own representation. Your comments on dealing with agents in this process?
Yeah, I mean, so for me personally, actually, I would say I don't deal with agents, but I do. Not the top level agents, but all of those trying to break into the industry, they'll be sending people like me the game film of their clients. So a lot of those guys are guys that are playing overseas and are trying to get back into the NBA, or kids who graduated college and maybe their name's not on the market, but they're trying to stir something up. So they'll reach out to video coordinators. Just as maybe they can't get to the GM of a team, but they can get to a video coordinator. And then that'll be kind of my role if I watch that film to evaluate, do I want to bring this up the chain and connect this agent with our management team, or do I just politely say,
you'd much rather they not contact you? Don't tell me you enjoy getting all those unsolicited films.
Not exactly, no. But at the same time, it's occasionally you do get something that just looks interesting. And so I'm probably not going to go to the GM, but I may go to the assistant GM and show him and go, what do you think? Should we bring it up the chain or just let
I
it
think
go?
you ought to write a book someday. I don't think you realize how exciting this is to talk about this. Let's
Yeah.
go to Charlie with your introduction and question for John. Charlie, thanks for coming in. Charlie,
How
come
you
on.
doing all?
I'm good. How's
Yes.
Palm Desert?
It's good. It's all right. It's cooling. It's good.
I'm
quiet.
in Palm Desert, and I met Charlie a couple of weeks ago, and he's very successful with the Marriott. He's also in many of our courses. But go ahead with your question for John.
Yes, John. Question. So when it came to the NBA draft, the highlight reels that they show after someone gets highlighted, is that created by you guys, like from the team, or does the NBA have their own team that they'll create that highlight
Good
reel?
question.
Yeah, no, that's good. Those are all like from the NBA, from ESPN, who do the highlight films. The stuff that we do, that's going to be much more slow and methodical of learning the player. At the same time, when I put together film, it's going to look different for whoever I put it for. So if I'm sending film to an owner, it may look more like that highlight film. They're not going to want to see like, how's this guy's post-up defense, or
Right.
But they do want to see like, can he dunk? Can he shoot threes? And so, but if you're someone from management, which is the main thing our film is for, we're going to chop up, like take a 40-minute game and put it into 10 minutes. So this is kind of the flow of this guy within the context of a game. So the stuff you see on TV, that's all from ESPN or the NBA. And most, probably 95% of what we do isn't like that, but we occasionally do have things like that. And even within our database where we're uploading player films and everything, we do occasionally add those in as well. So even if our staff wants a quick look at a guy and see some highlights, like we watch that stuff just like you or anyone else would.
Great question. Great insight, John. Let's go to Nate with your introduction. Nate, your question for John, and thanks for coming. Anybody else raise your hand, because we're here to help you. This is an hour, and then we're all going away. And so this is your chance to take off the mask and ask. Let's go. Welcome in.
Hey, John. Thank you so much for coming on. I actually have a name that you might be that you might know, someone who went to Liberty with you, perhaps. Do you know Neil Hawkins?
Oh yeah, we were living in the same dorm.
Yeah. So my best friend from college from Mount Vernon, Nazarene University, actually, that's his pastor. So.
Oh wow, yeah.
Yeah, so he told me, he's like, do you know John Ross? I said, yeah, I've heard of him. So
Wow, that's cool.
So.
Hey, John Ross, right. Okay,
Yeah.
Go ahead with your question for a good step. Go ahead, Nate.
Yeah, so my name is Nate Kazel. I'm from Malone University, head student manager there. And my question is like, getting into the G League, what is like the number one way that you would recommend kind of bringing value and asset to a front office from like the one I like, because the one right next to me is like the Can Charge. So like, what would be the best way to kind of get useful value to them and like present, is it through scouting certain local players? Like I have access to like D2 scouts. I just wanted to know, like, would you recommend maybe showing them like video clips of some D2 players, or what would you do to kind of impress the G League team at in the city that I'm in, kind of?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing, going back to like some of the classes you guys have done, is the informational interviews.
Yeah.
Is when you contact these executives, a lot of times it's going to be hard to get a hold of someone in the NBA, but you can get a hold of someone in the G League or WNBA, and you could ask them specifically in an informational interview setting where they're not even, they know that you're not asking for a job or anything. You can literally ask, what are you guys looking for someone who you would hire as an intern or an entry-level employee, of what they could offer? Because every team and organization is going to look for something different. And so like when I took the course, my course was 8 weeks, and I did informational interviews for probably 3 more months after that. Once I started contacting people, I was contacting, it was mainly G League and WNBA executives who I was talking to, and same thing, asking them questions and what they're looking for and what can help their franchise. And then that'll help kind of build in you, what are these teams looking for and what can they use? Like for an NBA level, we get sent a lot of video from college video coordinators, and I don't watch any of it. They send us a lot of stuff, and that's not really useful to us. And so that's where you need to kind of contact the teams and see, like, what are they looking for? We're more interested in someone who we know is going to work hard, has really good references. We've talked to them, we get along with them. And so kind of the basic skill set, like if you know how to use like sports code or synergy, we know that you know how to do that. And then the rest of it is we're looking, how's a guy going to fit into our culture? And so, and you find that stuff out by the people you talk to with different teams and colleges and leagues. So
Nate, back to you with a follow-up. I want to add something there. Please raise your hand the last 15, 20 minutes here. If anybody has any questions, I'll go call on some of you. But Nate, you have a follow-up to that, to John.
Yeah. So another follow-up question would be like, do you think it would be smart to kind of like, if someone's looking to be an agent at some point in their career, would you recommend like going, like, do you think it's a necessity for them to have to go to law school and get that certification? Or do you think that taking the sports business, the sports athlete management class that Dr. Lashbrook offers would be, something that could really help you get certified through the MBPA? And then, or what are your thoughts on that, John?
John, let me share something before you speak. And I know you'll have your own opinion. You're not controlled by a paid political announcement. But Nate, I love the question. Being an agent 25 years, we started our company with an agent course, and the exponential growth of representing athletes. They're going to be coming out of college or out of high school, and they're going to have an agent because they're going to get a shoe deal and a social media deal. We even have a course in that. But I got to be honest with you, it's something that nobody has their arms around, including John, when what's going to happen out there. It's just a reality, athletes getting paid. The Zions of the world at Duke would have been worth several $1 million easily in the market as a freshman. And saying all that, and we have a master's and doctorate. The master's for those that want to get a certified NFL or NBA, whatever. But to be honest with you, that agent course is about relationships. We're having a lot of growth in the agent program because if you just get one player, even if it's a European player, the first time, everyone has a younger brother. My favorite story is I got Ralph Dawkins out of Louisville, who was a free agent. 2 years later, he had a younger brother named Brian Dawkins out of Clemson, who later became an NFL Hall of Famer. And so, John, you can add to that, but I hate to see students just take courses and they're still wanting to get hired. And you're right about the informational interview. Don't try to get the job, just try to learn what they're looking for, and they'll be impressed with your personality. But John, your comments on that, because where we are. And 25 years later, we got a lot of traction because we're cost friendly and we're sincere. And I love the kind of people we attract around the world. Go ahead, John.
Yeah. I mean, I just say like, it's definitely, getting a law degree and that stuff. Like we have people that have left MBA jobs to go back to school and get a law degree to try to move up in management. At the same time, what I would recommend is just like we said before, but talk to Dr. Lashbrook and other people who are agents and have done it and do the same informational interviews you might do with executives with agents and figure out what their story was. What did they do to get a client, to get their foot in the door, to get wherever you want to go? Because the story is going to be different for everyone. And that's how you can kind of build what yours is going to be and the next steps that you need to take.
John, I always say you can't degree your way to any particular job. The doctorate works great if you want to be in college athletic. The master's, you want to get certified. But you and I know how we feel. I don't believe just getting degrees. I believe in strategies. And I like what you said about informational interviews. I had one student did over 20 informational interviews. We had another 70-year-old that became an associate scout of the California Angels, did a lot of interviews. But what he had over everybody else, he lived in Clovis, New Mexico, and they needed a scout in Clovis, New Mexico. Let's go to Nelson Beard with your introduction and question for John this last 15 minutes. Nelson, thanks for coming in.
Cool. Thanks, Dr. Lashbrook. Appreciate that. John, I hope you're doing well, my man. I got 2 questions. All right. And I'm out of San Francisco, California. So it's cold over here right now. But I got 2 questions. My first one is, and I think Dr. Lashbrook, you could kind of chime in on this, is I guess what is, because I'm a grad school student at St. Mary's over in Moraga, and is there, I guess, how important is it to have a master's degree when you go into the professional level of sports, as opposed to, just like high school and you're a PE teacher or something like that? Like,
let me start with that. And John will have his own opinion respectfully, because I agree with John. Sometimes we get sucked into, we have to have a master. We have a nice online master's. It's pretty friendly. What your goal is really the issue. And if you could work in the athletic department at St. Mary's, you're an advantage. But I think the Kool-Aid has always been get your master's. I went and got my master's and doctorate with the strategy to come back to my alma mater, and it worked. But it was in kinesiology, and I could teach all these courses, and I still got to coach football. But my point is that world's over with. The future college administrators have to learn online, which we're the best in the world at, in sports management. But you have to have a plan to get where your passion is, not just get a degree. So you're getting your master's, don't quit now. But we'd like to be part of that partnership of a strategy, whether you become an agent or whether you become a compliance officer, we don't know. But that's where we come in, and Adam will stay in after the hour to talk to you about career strategy. But John, your comments on that, because I think it's misleading. A degree gets you where you're going. Your comment, John.
Yeah, I would say it's definitely more of what you learn than the actual degree. I did not have a master's coming into the NBA. I actually did the CUC program.
Right.
The year the NBA had a lockout, I took advantage of that time and got a master's degree. I don't think anyone in the organization really knew I got it or cared. It didn't matter. But I did learn some things that I, put into my bank for the future. So I feel like, your education, it's what you make out of it. When we're looking for like entry-level roles, we're not really looking at what kind of an education someone got, and even like what someone's major is. I think every single person in our office has a different major from college, whether it be psychology, English, business. Everyone has something different. So it's more so like, who you're becoming, what you're learning, than like the degree itself. And so it's definitely a good thing. It's definitely a good thing. Like the more education you have, it's not going to hurt you at all. But it's not like necessarily a necessity to get in.
So John, if Liberty came calling, or somebody out there wanted you to be an athletic director with your unique background, or teach sports management, that master's will be your ticket. There's ways, but I agree with you. And I'm so proud of the fact. I tell people, I've told my students for 25 years, it's not the degree on the wall that's most important. It's the wall, stupid. And I didn't call you stupid, but we're so caught up in these sports management degrees, and they all, after a while. And what I love, John, about our faculty, they all are Mark Workentine, Mark Dominic, etc. They're all industry leaders. They don't necessarily have a kinesiology degree. So that's a real button with me. And I really appreciate all of you coming in to ask questions of how you can get better. Let's go to Kendall. Am I right, Ike? Kendall, for follow-up or questions?
Yeah. I got a question.
Yeah.
How you doing, John? My name is Kendall Danglade. I just finished my MBA in a GA position. I also just took a basketball operations and a player performance internship. My question to you is, in your career, do you want to stay on the management side, or would you like to get in the coaching ranks someday?
Great question.
Management. So my goal the whole time was to be on management, and I got my foot in the door on the coaching side. So once I got my foot, I would have sold tickets or cleaned the floor, like literally anything. Luckily, I got a video internship. So I got my foot in the door on the coaching side. And then I actually had an opportunity to move to the front office my second year. But I stayed on the coaching side for about 6 years, partly just to become a more well-rounded person. And in regards to, if I'm going to be a good front office person, I need to understand how coaches think. And so I spent more time on that side to just kind of develop my own, basketball knowledge and how a coach works and thinks. And then, when the opportunity arose for me to move over to the front office side, then I did. And hopefully, I'll just be able to continue to grow on that side and get it more into scouting and management. And that's kind of the path I hope for.
And your follow-up on that last question?
How does your role change during summer league?
So summer league it's really nice for all of us. It's kind of like whatever level we are, we get bumped up. And so those of us who are video and analytics and somewhat support staff, we become all the full-time scouts. So we split up all the games and we scout the games and write the reports and make our recommendations. Same with the coaching staff. The head coach kind of steps aside and all the assistants bump up to like taking control. So like, it's kind of a time for like the top level to let all of us bump up and kind of show our work and do our thing. So it's at summer leagues. We all really enjoyed it. It's a great time. So we missed out on having that.
John, we, Alyssa and Ike, we all miss those, the summer league and the MLB winter meetings, NFL combine.
Mm-hmm.
We're got a little COVID fatigue going here. We're going crazy.
Yeah.
And once that, we want to get back to the arena, the NBA arena as well. We got a couple more questions here, John, and we'll call it a day. Raise your hand because we're not going to stay around a couple hours. This is a 1 hour of John's commitment. Let's go to Anthony before I go to Brendan. Anthony, welcome in with your introduction. Thanks for coming in.
Hi, thank you. My name's Anthony. I'm from Boston. I'm a graduate of the GM and Scouting course, and I'm also entering my last semester of the Sports Leadership Master's Program at Concordia. I was just wondering, we all think of like working in basketball operations, but I feel like that's like a broad term, and it's like an umbrella in a sense that there's all these other like facets under it. I was wondering, what is like a role of basketball operations that we may not think immediately that to come to mind, such as like, you know, like scouting and video personnel are more obvious ones. What maybe is like a less obvious role?
Great question.
Yeah, I'd say the training staff is all under basketball operations, the equipment staff. And the equipment staff is probably one of those places you can get your foot in the door and not even realize. A lot of per se ball boys who are like team attendants, a lot of times like our top team attendants get their foot in the door through the equipment room. And so the team attendants will then become the assistant equipment. And then a lot of times those guys will transfer over to like, you know, director of basketball operations or even into the scouting department. So yeah, the equipment room, training staff, scouting, personnel, and then even down to like your nutritionist, your, you know, massage therapist, all of those, anyone dealing with the players directly. So even part of our like public relations department, they all kind of fall under basketball operations in that umbrella.
John, it brings back a lot of memories. I was equipment manager in the off season at Fort Hays. I did helmets, not just the splicing of the film, and shoes. I watered the cinder track for the track coach in the spring. But you're absolutely right. Get your foot in the world of that. It's a ticket to the game to catch a foul ball. Let's go. Brendan, I'll get to you last because you went around, but let me go to Abdul, then Brendan, and then we'll call it a day, and I'll bring Adam in to close out. Come on back in. Welcome. Go ahead.
Hello, my name is Abdul. I'm joining from Ottawa, Ontario. I have just two quick questions. One is, I have a young, talented basketball player who wanted to get into the NBA. That is like around 4 years ago when he was 18, but he didn't have an agent and he didn't get discovered. So my question is there a path for such players to get into, to play professionally, either at the NBA or in Europe? Yeah. Second, what tips can you give for such young players who don't have agents? What's the best they can do to get noticed?
John, let me segue that. In all sports, we get that question asked 100 times a day. I always have a story. You have to play your way to the next level. And John, your comments on that. There's a sad time out here with COVID. There's a lot of great athletes that haven't had any film this year. There's going to be a lot of people that maybe do get passed up, but I also don't want you 28 years old still trying to play. John, your comments on that, because it's a new world out there of talent discovery based on the COVID crisis.
Yeah, if a player's dream is to get to NBA and they don't get a look, then the next step is to play overseas or to play in a minor league. There's the G League, which is the most well-known, but there's also other minor leagues in basketball. The G League, most teams have open tryouts. So it would be contacting all of the G League teams, asking if they have an open tryout. And when that is, usually it's like, you know, $150 entry fee.
Right. It's a moneymaker.
Yeah. And that's how the G League teams don't have a lot of budget. So that could be their budget for the years by hosting these open tryouts. But guys do make those teams through open tryouts. And that's where a lot of guys who played in college who didn't get a look at the NBA, they'll go try out for a G League team, and you can make a name. Like, there's guys who've had successful NBA careers that went completely unnoticed and undrafted and worked their way up through overseas or the G League. And so those are the next steps to getting to the NBA.
Good comments. Let's go to Brendan, then we'll go to Nate, and we'll let John out of here. Brendan, you don't need to reintroduce yourself. Your follow-up question.
Yeah, so we're all talking about like law degrees and all these other degrees that in title have nothing to do with sport, but I'm actually taking a sports management degree, and I wanted to ask John, like, what different advantages or disadvantages in getting into the sport or in getting into basketball or any sport does a sports management degree
John, be factual, and then I'll put my little remark in.
Yeah, I mean, the degree that someone gets doesn't mean much at all. I actually started as a sports management major in college, and it wasn't very challenging for me, so I switched to business. And so, yeah, I don't even think we even look at it. Now, it's different if you're going into like analytics or something like that, then it's going to be important to have a background in computer coding and analytics, that kind of thing. But as far as getting your foot in the door, video internship or just a basic front office internship, it's more so going to be your experience than what your degree is.
John, there's such a saturation. I'm somewhat critical of my colleagues after 50 years and watching higher ed and the price point, and so many of the professors, they've never turned on a video camera. You know, all our faculty have been in the trenches, if I may. I take a lot of pride in that. And Brendan's been a superstar in our classes, keeps growing, keeps being curious, and there's going to be opportunities. And that's what I'm proud of, Brendan. Brendan, I appreciate you coming in. Let's go to Nate with your final question.
Yeah, so my final question is one, there's kind of two, but the first one is, what's an area of like basketball analytics that people aren't really exploring right now that's kind of breaking forth, like that's starting to come out a little bit right now in the NBA that would be something to maybe get a jump start on?
I mean, I think the interesting thing with analytics is that analytics within each team is very different. What people are doing, what they're targeting. So obviously like Moneyball kind of came out and made, analytics really popular, but like there was a lot of different teams already doing things. And so, I can't tell you per se anything specific because I know what our team does, but I know that that's closed off to them. And so it's a really interesting topic. And I think that's something that, like, even for you guys in the course, like that's a fun thing to like brainstorm yourself and see. Like analytics and statistics can go in so many different directions.
Infinite, right.
And so, when you're taking these classes, like what kind of things can you come up with? And like, those are things when people like you send me, like I said, I'm not going to watch video that someone sends me. Like that's just, I see enough video already. But when people send me really interesting reports of things that they've researched, I find that really interesting. Or those of you who work with college teams, and you can send me I don't need his statistics or anything I can find on the internet, but when you can tell me like what his family was like and how he was as a teammate and that stuff's interesting. So when those of you guys who work with teams, those are the things that like front offices are going to find interesting, the things that you have knowledge of that no one else does. And so in analytics, I would just recommend just creating your own and figuring out that.
I love it. 2 more questions, 2 more minutes. Come on. Nobody else. You've had your chance. Kendall and then Sasha. Boom, boom.
I got a comment and a question. A lot of people don't know that basketball operations also has to do with the overall development of the players and helping them get into other businesses as well. My question is, though, how do you know when to take the right opportunity? We're trying to break in as quick as possible. But how do you know which is the right opportunity so that you can take it?
Yeah, I mean, my recommendation, especially when you're trying to break in, is to take whatever opportunity comes your way.
Absolutely.
It's hard to get your foot in the door. If you're lucky enough to get, I actually I got rejected like 18 times before I got my foot in the door, but I ended up with 2 offers after that. And one was in public relations in Philadelphia, and then one was in basketball operations in Portland. And I ended up taking the basketball ops because that's ultimately where I wanted to go. But I was moving to Philadelphia the next day before I got the opportunity here in Portland. So, and like they knew my goal was to get in the front office, and they had a guy who had gone from public relations to the scouting department. So it's like, that's my recommendation always. If you get an opportunity, especially if it's in the NBA, like I would take it if that's your end goal. If your end goal is coaching and you get an opportunity in the NBA that isn't aligned with coaching, but you do get one in college that's aligned with coaching, I would recommend to go the coaching route because that's what you want to do. And so I would just, know what you want to do long term and then do your best to stay on that path. And if your goal is the NBA, then that's just an open bucket. If your goal is something specific, then stay on that specific route.
I always think you have to do the walk-on approach, and I had to walk on at Fort Hays, and I tell everybody that. Last question, Sasha, no introduction, and we're going to say goodbye to John and introduce Adam, who's not only a basketball agent, but is passionate about the business of basketball. Sasha, your final question.
Yeah, thank you. You've touched on this slightly, but I had another question about Synergy. When you're pulling film off Synergy, are you generally pulling out just like just like, let's say you're pulling out all their pick and roll footage for what if there's a player, because Synergy, as I've come to learn, it can be breaks down in so many different directions, and there's so many different parts to it, and it can be a little overwhelming sometimes. Are you normally focusing when you're pulling film just like all the, let's say, the pick and roll plays or all their possessions in one game, or do you go into the breakdowns that Synergy does as well at all?
Yeah, both. Like we'll go, if we're pulling something from Synergy, we're going to look at the specific breakdowns. And even when we're writing our reports, like they have a lot of good analytics and numbers on Synergy that we can use. Like typically what we're going to do is take a whole game and break it down. But if we want to see like all of a guy's pick and rolls going right, or, pick and rolls where he passes to a guy, like Synergy has all that broken down really well. And so if we do need something like that, we can just watch it. Or if we want to clip it up, we can just pull all those out. It's really helpful with like international film as well, because sometimes international film's harder to come by. And so that's all available as well. So we use it for that as well. But yeah, we use the breakdowns for Synergy.
John, we've been doing a lot of doc talks. I got to be honest, this is as good as it gets. You don't realize how important you are and an inspiration to everybody. And I urge everybody to, Adams wants to make some announcements and tell you a little bit more. And John will say goodbye to you. I also want to thank our production crew of Alyssa and Ike and Cherise. I think we're doing a great job. And John, we'll always have a lifetime partnership with you. We're always here for you. In Portland. It's been a tough time, but Merry Christmas, and the vaccine starts today, and I hope we're in the Rose Garden sooner than later.
I hope so too.
Thank you so much, John. Go ahead.
Yeah. Merry Christmas and happy holidays to all of you, and thanks for having me here.
Okay, you're an inspiration. Adam, I'm gonna bring you in. Adam's one of our senior career counselors, and Adam wants to give you some highlights. Any questions? Remember, once you're in an SMWW family, you get a lifetime worldwide chat membership every Sunday for 3 hours. All questions, strategies, career issues, whatever. We have students all over the world. You would absolutely love it. We have a resume service. We'll do anything we can to help you adrenalize today and monetize tomorrow. Adam, can you hear me?
Yes, I am here. Can you hear me?
How are you doing? I can hear you. Thank you, sir. I'll hang around.
I'm doing pretty well. My little daughter walks into the screen. She's excited because she has some Christmas presents underneath the tree. But little background of myself with SMWW, met Dr. Lashbrook. Oh, what is it? 15 years ago now, when he came to offer back when I was in the restaurant industry, came to offer to put my restaurant in the gym of a high school, and we were a brewery and restaurant, and turned into a long-term relationship. I guess my claim to fame when it comes to basketball is I took athlete management Thought I was going to represent football players, but then there's a guard. I graduated from University of Wisconsin, Green Bay. Kiefer Sykes, who was projected to be a second-round draft pick. Brett Canis and I, who teaches our basketball agent course, met in Green Bay. Met with three players, Kiefer, Greg Mays, and Alfonso McKinney. Alfonso ended up signing with us. We got him over to Luxembourg. Then he went down to Mexico and then represented USA basketball in a 3-on-3 tournament over in China, won the gold medal there, ended up in the G League. Then he was with the Warriors, then with the Cavs, and now he's with the Lakers. So
good story.
My first client ended up being a basketball player. So I enjoy spotting talent. There is a lot of conversation in here today. Not everyone has a different path to the NBA, including students, and how you get there, whether it's a player or a student. And just what we went over today, and I think I put it in the chat box. I think having something like synergy on your resume is such a big deal because not every person has that on their resume. And we've talked about a lot today about how do you stand apart from the people that are sending in their resumes and saying, I love the sport of basketball and I'm really passionate about the Milwaukee Bucks or Chicago Bulls or whoever, whatever the team may be. They get hundreds of resumes like that all the time. But what do you have on your resume that makes you stand apart? And synergy is something that most people cannot put on their resume. And that goes for all of our courses. It's bridging that gap through, either having a 2-year degree or just even having a diploma or having a 4-year degree. It's like, how do you bridge that gap? And even John said, it doesn't matter the degree. It's what you know and where you're going in life and how do you stand out to put that resume to the start. And that's what all of our courses do for you. We have over 35 different courses. And just coming up, I wanted to mention this. It's kind of a thing that will be coming up, but we're in the process of putting together a basketball player development course. We're hoping that Gar Foreman, the former GM of the Chicago Bulls, might be teaching that course. So in basketball, we have, as of right now, we have the basketball agent course. We have basketball GM scouting, which Mark Workington is a legend. He won executive of the year when he was with the Nuggets. We have synergy. We have basketball analytics with Dean Oliver. And as you can tell by these names, these are big names in the sport. And we also have the athlete management course, and that's what I've done. We also have a partnership with Concordia University of Chicago. If you are interested in getting a master's or a doctorate, if that's what you would need to help you progress within an organization, if you're already working for one. And other interests, I heard the salary cap course come up. Another great course taught by Joel Corey that writes for CBS Sports. He also teaches our athlete management course and knows tons about the salary cap in all sports and writes articles for CBS Sports. And the applications are free for our courses. I noticed some of you in here are new and haven't taken courses quite yet, like Nelson Beard and a few others. And let us know if you have any questions. That's what we're here to answer for you. We can help give you some direction. I've noticed Charlie Andrews was in here, Nate Casel was in here, Valerie was in here. Those are all people I've worked with in the past, and we pride ourselves on getting to know the person and what the ultimate goal is and where they want to go within in a sport and where they want to be. And as Dr. Lashbrook says in the past, I've never talked to those guys and said, hey, you take synergy and you're going to get a job in the NBA. It's all about, you take synergy, you get it on your resume. And like John said, you may start off in college basketball. But to get into college basketball, I've heard a lot of people in here that are in college. It's going into the athletic department, bringing something to the table, talking to the basketball coaches and saying, hey, I took Synergy. I know how to break down film. Can I volunteer some time for the basketball team? And while you're still in school, you're still building that up. And by the time you graduate, the more sports related things you can get on your resume, the better off you'll be. So like I said, applications are free. We have free resume services after the course. I typed that in the chat box. Also, people were asking about the informational interviews. That's a requirement of all of our courses. And what's very interesting is that what will end up happening is people that do informational interviews, and I love it how in the chat Nate said he did about over 20 of them. What will happen is that helps you develop relationships, and it might not happen right away, but down the road that person might remember you, and when they're looking for a spot within their video coordinator position within a team, or even other positions, they might reach back out to you. We've had several students get hired by people that they have done informational interviews with. And not only that, but it gets you out of your comfort zone. If you want to actually work in professional sports, I don't care if it's basketball or hockey or baseball, soccer, whatever it may be, you have to get used to contacting the teams and following up with them. And that's a great way to do it. So I'm going to open it up. I'm pretty well experienced in basketball. If anyone has any questions specific for me, I would love to answer those for you. I also put my email address. I would love to hear from some of the women in here and see if they have any questions in regards to getting into sports more and more. All sports have been proactive with getting more women involved within sports. So if anyone has any questions, feel free. If not, I might just call on some people. I know Eric brought up the salary cap course, and I know Nate's still in, and Nelson. And Nelson, I know you asked about some informational interviews. Did you want to get more information on those? If so, go ahead and unmute yourself and just ask whatever questions you guys may have.
I think John had spoke about those informational interviews, and I just didn't know if that was part of like a specific course or if that was a course in its whole entirety.
Sure.
Things of that nature, because like obviously, I guess networking and, like you said, following up with those that you interview, later on they could, you kind of got them in your back pocket, and then it's like, hey, when an opportunity comes about,
exactly,
they might be able to hire you, or whatever the case may be. So just I didn't know if that was a course in itself, like I said, or just part of a course with like the Synergy or analytics, whatever the case may be, GM course, scouting, all that.
Yeah, so all of our courses are 8-week online courses. You have live Zoom chats with your instructors. There's other companies out there that try to offer what we offer, but it's not the same. You might be watching videos of guys that just tell you what to do within going through the course, but you're never live interacting with them. And that's what separates us first, is that you're doing live Zoom chats just like we're doing today with your instructors. So you actually get to interact with the instructors. You have access to them via email and or phone. They're always really good about getting back to people within 24 hours. I know Mark Workington gives out his cell phone number directly to students when you take the basketball GM and scouting course. But part of all of our courses, no matter which one you take, is doing those informational interviews, because it's very important not only to expand your network, but get used to not, kind of getting out of your realm and getting used to contacting teams and how to go about asking for it. When I first started getting into the agent business and representing players, kind of like John mentioned, I probably was the guy sometimes that was sending video to the video coordinator, not knowing really where I was supposed to send it. When you take any of our agent courses, I host an agent advisor course. We continue your education after you complete the course, to where I kind of help you out on who's prospects, who's not prospects, who to be contacting, how to get players information, how to get them marketing materials, who to be contacting within organizations to send that film to. So it helps get you out of your comfort zone and start following up with teams, and you have to be aggressive. I mean, we can teach you all the X's and O's, and we can redo your resume for you, but we can't send out your resume for you. That's going to be up to the student to be aggressive, send out their resume. We have a whole job links area of what teams are hiring and for what positions and where to be sending your resume, but we're not going to send out the resume for you. And also then following up and making sure they received it. And if you do get an interview, sending thank you notes and following up with the person you interviewed with. Also, the instructors for all of our courses, one of the first things you do if you do not have a LinkedIn is set up a LinkedIn account. And our instructors will still stay interactive even with the students after the courses end via LinkedIn, and they give out job opportunities via LinkedIn. And hey, this team has this position open. If you've taken GM and scouting or synergy or analytics, you would qualify for this position. Send your resume here. So it's not only about what you're being taught in the courses, but our instructors are really good about staying in touch with the students. I mean, I know Nate has contacted me afterwards. We've had several follow-up calls, and just keep guiding you. Also, Dr. Lashbrook has a worldwide chat that takes place on Sunday mornings at 8 a.m. Pacific time. And that's a lifelong thing. Once you're an alumni with us, you're an alumni for good. And you can go into those worldwide chats, ask Dr. Lashbrook any questions that he may have. And I'm not saying he doesn't know it all, but if he doesn't know your question, he'll make sure he contacts the right people to get your question answered and then pass it along, and we'll reach back out to you. If you take multiple courses with us, you get a discount. If you take one course back in 2015, if you took gym and scouting and now you're interested in synergy because you think that might get your foot in the door, you get a $300 discount. So we're a company that stays with people throughout their time. Like I said, once you're an alumni and you have access to us all the time. Does anyone else have any other questions in regards to anything when it comes to the SMWW side of things? Like I mentioned, we have the partnership with CUC for master's and doctorate, but I see Eric unmuted himself. Go ahead, Eric.
Yeah, thanks, Adam. So I talked earlier about the salary cap particular course, and I'm also thinking about the sports, the athlete management course. I assume that's a pretty good connection, and you're one of the people for the athlete management course. Am I correct? Or
I do not teach the course, but I've taken the course and I oversee.
Sure.
So when you take any of our agent courses, what happens is, Eric, after you take any of our agent courses, and I know you have a law background, any of our agent courses, the thing about being an agent is back when I first started, I didn't have the Rolodex of connections like Dr. Lashbrook has in football or Brett Canis has in basketball. So once you take any of our courses that are the agent courses, and we have athlete management, which covers baseball, basketball, hockey, football. We have a specific soccer agent course. We have a specific baseball agent course, and we have a specific basketball agent course. So here's what I tell people. If you were like me and I thought I was going to represent football, but I ended up representing Al for a while and everything, and I helped out a few minor league baseball players as well, and I was a family advisor to a hockey player, I'd take athlete management because I didn't really know where my connections would be in a sport. So I took athlete management. If you specifically know that all of your contacts are in basketball, then I'd look at the sport-specific agent courses, such as the basketball agent course or the baseball agent course. Then I'd look at the sport-specific one. So after you complete any of those 8-week online courses, myself, who does all the other sports, and I'll be the first one to admit, I don't know much about soccer, but you have access. John Print is our director of soccer. So even if you take athlete management and let's say you come across a soccer player that might be interested in having you represent him, or even a race car driver. Right now, one of my guys in my agent advisor chats on Wednesday nights is representing a 14-year-old race car driver that's actually doing very well. We also have people that represent a few golfers, and we have an athlete marketing and branding course that, like Dr. Lashbrook talked about, how to brand kids coming out of that are still in school and how to make money off their likeness, sending them to car dealerships to do autograph sessions and things like that. But basically, once you finish any of those agent courses, you have access to my chats on Wednesday nights. They're at 6 p.m. or John Prince, if you're interested in soccer. Even if you took athlete management, but you came across a soccer player, you'll still have access to John Print to ask him questions about a soccer player. So they're 8-week courses. Afterwards, then we continue that education. I keep hosting chats going on about how do you find the prospects? Who is the prospects? How do we get them marketing materials? How do you get their information? We always like to start with the parents, because who knows the kid better than the parents? Not me. The parents are going to, and nine times out of 10, the parents are going to be involved in the decision-making process. And I mean, down the road, I ended up taking football, GM and scouting, and athlete management because I didn't want to waste my time on going after players that I knew weren't going to be able to make it professionally. So I took football, GM, and scouting. Once I really started representing quite a few football players, I wanted to know what professional scouts were looking for in a player that can play in the NFL. So that benefited me. And I always think doing a 2-course strategy, even if you want to get in the front office, you pair basketball, GM, and scouting with synergy. I think that's a great way to go. Or basketball GM and scouting with basketball analytics. I paired athlete management with football GM and scouting because I didn't want to waste my time on players that weren't going to make it. So, I mean, what course have you already taken?
I've done the baseball GM and sports administration.
Okay, and what's the ultimate goal?
I would like to do agent, player representation. I did sports law as well in law school.
Okay.
So something lines or the front office. That's
Okay.
why I think I'm interested in capology as well. I have worked with the minor league baseball team in Virginia for a few years when I was younger.
Okay. What I would do too, though, it sounds to me though, you don't know if all your connections would be in baseball. I would almost look at athlete management because it'll go all over those, and the salary cap would be good because as an agent, you want to understand the salary cap, especially, I mean, the first year contracts in any sport are mainly slotted now, but it's when you have players coming up on their second contract, you want to get an understanding of the salary cap to know how to negotiate with them. Basically, how much room does that team have under the salary cap for that specific position, and what are the comps to other guys that are kind of like your guy that might be free agents? So that's another benefit of the salary cap course. Eventually, I'll probably take the salary cap course because it will only help me become a better agent. Right now, I rely a lot on Dr. Lashbrook when it comes to football in regards to that, but eventually down the road, I think the salary cap would help me as well. Does that make sense, Eric? I guess.
Yeah, yes, sir. Thanks a lot. I appreciate that.
Yes, you're welcome. Does anyone else have any other questions right away? If they want to go ahead and raise their hand, I can't see the chat box right now. So if you do have a question, go ahead and just raise your hand or unmute yourself and feel free to go ahead and ask it. Nate, go ahead.
Yeah, so I had a question regarding maintaining relationships.
Yes.
And I think it's obviously it's the biggest part of this industry is being able to do that. One of the areas I feel like it's what I've been trying to work around is when you're trying to impress a scout or a GM or something, and then you reach out with them and say, "Oh yeah, I'll contact you back, or I'll get this back to you, or I'll continue to do that." Let's say that something happens and it just hasn't happened. Where does that connection need to go then? What's the next step? Because that's something that I've kind of done where I've reached out to people and been like, yes, I'm working on this. Yes, I'm doing that. But I want there to be a personal relationship where like, yes, I would be doing stuff for them. But what are the kind of the steps to maintain the relationship so that it's not just us taking and then not giving any, or like vice versa, if you know what I mean?
Nate, I am so sorry. I had an interruption. Could you say that one more time? I am so sorry. Get out of here.
Yeah. So like, what do you think is the best way to like maintain
to keep personal relationships? So are you talking from an agent side of things or from just in general?
I would say front office, anybody like in basketball, like where you're maybe like talking to them, showing them different things, and you're continuing to put forth work and try to, demonstrate that to them.
Okay, I got you. So number one, what I've always learned is like for me being an agent, I'm not going to reach out to GMs or directors of player personnel I know if it's something that doesn't pertain to their job, because they're already busy people. So you don't want to lose your credibility, I guess is the best way to put it. You want to reach out for a purpose, right? You just don't want to, in your position, how you can send out video or things like that. Does that video really matter to those people, or are you just sending it to keep your name out there? Do you know what I mean by that? Like, make sure when you're contacting people like that, especially after you've established those relationships, you don't want to just be sending things to send it when it doesn't really matter to them, if that makes sense. Now, so here's an example. I know Coach LaFleur from the Packers. Now, when he tore his Achilles tendon, I did send him a quick text message and said, "Hey, man, I hope you get well soon. I hope you're able to get on the field, once the regular season starts," because he tore it during training camp. Now, that's just something to say because the guy injured himself. You know what I mean? But like I tell our agent advisors, and this is why Ike and myself oversee the agent advisors, is we're not going to put the SMWW name on the line to reach out for a player that thinks he can play in the NBA, but he's 29 years old and he hasn't played any sort of competitive basketball in the last 3 years. I'm not going to reach out to any NBA person. I might tell that player, "Hey, if you still think you can play, you need to go to exposure camps in Las Vegas." But I'm not going to put my reputation on the line to reach out to anyone in the NBA and say, "Would you mind checking this guy out?" when he hasn't played professionally in 3 years. So is that kind of tying in what you're asking?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a matter of how to appropriately address them and like talk to them and bring up topics, and understand they're professional. Yeah, and then they're not going to be able to sit on the phone all day.
Exactly. And Nate, you did over 20 informational interviews, so I think as time goes on, you start reading people, and it depends on your relationship as well. I mean, there's some. I grew up with Elliot Wolf, who's the son of Ron Wolf, who's in the NFL Hall of Fame. No, excuse me. I know I can reach out to Elliot maybe on a different level that I can reach out to Coach LaFleur. You know what I mean? And you start learning how to kind of read that depending on how long you've built that relationship and how that relationship has evolved. If that makes sense, you know?
Yep. It's mainly like how to start that relationship and the best way to kick it off is like the hardest part, I feel like sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, I think some of the best ways, and we make it, I think doing the informational interviews, and when you in those informational interviews, you can always throw it out there like, hey, do you mind if I have any other follow-up questions, would you mind if I shoot you an email, you know, or anything like that? And you can slowly build relationships that way. And that's what I would recommend doing is, and the last thing you want to do is be nagging the person. Like, don't be sending them emails every other day. But like I said, when something does come up or things like that, and if you've left the conversation well and they've given you your contact information, their contact information, sending over don't make it a page-long email, but just sending over a short email in regards to whatever you might be inquiring about to see if they respond to you. I don't think that's a bad thing, but don't do any nagging. It's the same thing with contacting players. I've had coaches tell me, hey, you can talk to my players all you want during the off season, but as soon as the season starts, you better not be contacting them at all. So,
thank you. Great.
You're welcome. Does anyone else have any other questions right away while we are still on the chat? Otherwise, I'll kind of wrap things up. Abdul, I see you're still in. Do you have any other questions at all? I know you had a question about a player that was looking to play after high school and didn't really get a chance.
I just need maybe if you can give me more explanation about pathways that player can follow.
I mean, for someone like that, like here's what with Alphonso McKinney, he was coming off a knee injury. He wasn't the number one scorer at University of Wisconsin Green Bay. He was actually the third guy. There was Kiefer first, Greg Bayes was second, and then Al. So we had to send Al to exposure camps that usually take place in Las Vegas around the Summer League in July. This year, obviously, because of COVID, they didn't have them. I'm hoping that they have them again next year. But for under the radar guys, there's exposure camps that happen in Las Vegas, and they usually begin right around or right after the 4th of July, like July 5th or 6th, and they usually go for the different exposure camps go for about 2 weeks. But, you know, if you send a guy to an actual camp, the whole camp doesn't last 2 weeks, but there's multiple camps by different organizations like Eurobasket or Heart Sports Management. And those all take place within a 2-week time period. And once you take our athlete management course or the basketball agent course, Brett Canis, Jan, who teaches our basketball agent course as well, and myself will guide you towards which camps to send your players to. So that's another advantage of taking our agent courses as well, is that you kind of get the knowledge because some of them are not as good as others. So you want to know, okay, how many coaches from overseas are going to be at this camp? How many scouts are going to be at that camp? And we help guide you in that way of, you know, send them to this camp and this camp, and he'll get as much exposure. And then it's up to the player to perform. You know, you can get them to those camps, and then it's up to them to perform. And that's what ended up happening with Al, and that's how we got him overseas. Because without going to those exposure camps, he wouldn't have had a shot. And now he's in the NBA. And
is there an age limit for exposure camps?
I mean, like I said, if a player hasn't played professionally or in college in the last, 3 years, I would have a hard time recommending to do anything with a player like that. And I think I've said it in chats in the past. Sometimes they call me dream crusher because of that. But you also don't want to be wasting your time and the player's time knowing that the likelihood of him getting a career going, if he graduated, in your instance, if he graduated when he was 18, he still might be young, but what has he been doing in those last 3 years? And also when it comes to basketball, the one thing that I have definitely learned when it comes to playing overseas, you can't teach height because overseas teams are limited on how many, what they call, basically American players they can have on their rosters. Sometimes it's only one, sometimes it's only two. And usually they want guys that are, 6'7" or taller that can shoot from the perimeter.
Yeah, the guy I have is 7 foot.
7 foot. So yeah. So has he tried playing for the Canadian Basketball League at all, the CBL?
No, he's
Okay,
around 22 now.
Okay, so the CBL should start tryouts again as well. Is he from Canada?
Yes, he's from Canada, born and raised here.
Okay, so what you're gonna want to do is you can Google in the CBL, the Canadian Basketball League, and then also the guy who used to run the CBL now has it's called the Basketball League, the TBL, down here in the States.
Mm-hmm.
And that would give him an opportunity as well. But I would recommend, start getting into this yourself. Have you taken any of our agent courses yet?
Right now, I'm just starting the soccer agent course.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you are taking the soccer agent course?
Yes.
Okay, so then so once you're done with that soccer agent course, you'll have access to John Print and myself, and we can kind of help guide you through that process.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Okay.
Yes, thank you.
Does anyone else have any other questions?
I got a quick question, really quickly.
Sure.
I just want to make sure that so you had talked about going, like pairing 2 different courses together, I believe.
Yes.
So I'm, so for me, like I want to, try to go the coaching route with the NBA, and obviously, if all else fails, maybe I'm in a college level. But if I were to pair 2 courses together, I will go GM and the Synergy one, correct?
I'd definitely start with Synergy.
Okay.
Because guys like Eric Spoelstra, Frank Vogel, Brad Stevens, all those guys came up through the film room.
Okay.
So I would definitely start off with Synergy. No doubt about that. And then GM and scouting is good because being a coach, you want to know how to assess players, obviously. And then once we put together this basketball player development course, that's one that would definitely stand out because that's going to really focus on coaching basketball as well.
Okay.
So those would be the 3. And when you sign up for 2 courses with us, you get a $400 discount. Or if you take one course and then sign up for another one in the future, you get a $300 discount. So we'll work with you on that stuff as well. And we have bundles now too, that when you take multiple courses within one specific sport, we have these really cool plaques that we're going to be sending out to people, and you actually specialized in that area. But we'll definitely work with you on that. But if you want to get on the coaching, I would start with Synergy for sure, because like John said, you work with every department when you're breaking down film, whether it's the scouts, the coaches, whoever it may be. All right.
Cool. Appreciate you.
Yeah, no problem, Nelson. Does anyone else have any other questions? Otherwise, we'll kind of wrap things up here.
I had one last question, Adam, and this is like the last one for me. Is have you guys ever thought about having a connections window? So like something I'm in part of is like the rising coaches, and where it's like their managers across the country meeting and talking with one another who are wanting to be future coaches. Have you guys thought about like making it to where like former alumni connect? Obviously we have these chats, but former alumni or people in this on these classes can connect in like one-on-one just breakouts and in terms of like on a monthly basis?
Yeah,
Adam, I'll actually take that real quick.
I was going to say LinkedIn, but go ahead, Ike.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say as well. Nate, you should look up the SMWW alumni LinkedIn page for someone like yourself that's taken classes and gone through the program. It's probably close to 15,000 people that are part of that official SMWW alumni page. And you can see all of the participants, listed there and so on and so forth. And you can reach out to them and connect and kind of hopefully attain that goal that you're going after.
Yeah, I agree with I'd reach out on LinkedIn. There's a few guys. I mean, Nick Nurse came through our program. I'm not saying but Nick Nurse has come through this program a long time ago. The director of player personnel for the Lakers have come through this. He started off in the G League. And that's the cool thing is that there's a lot of our alumni now that are in hiring positions. So I would say go in on LinkedIn, search SMWW on LinkedIn and see who pops up. And on LinkedIn, don't just try and request a connection. Try to send something, an email or a direct message while you're trying to form that connection with them.
Thank you.
All right. Anything else from anyone or? Well, thank you guys all for coming in. Ike, do you have anything else?
Nope, that's it. We'll be probably taking a short break for Doc Talks through for the rest of the month and year. So look out for some newly scheduled Doc Talk announcements coming at the start of the new year. And we're glad you all can make it in. The recording will probably be sent out tomorrow morning if you'd like to go back and listen to anything that John and Dr. Lashbrook and Adam had to say. So look out for that email coming from myself. And with that, Adam, thank you for time. Everyone else, thank you for your time. And we'll catch you on the next one.
All right. Thanks everyone for coming in.
Thank you.